Good morning, everybody. Patty Ann here. Hang on just a second. It's getting hot. It's kind of chilly down here in the basement. Anyway, today I said I was going to show you how to add patterns to some images. So let's look up here at CRICUT Design Space. Actually, to my Facebook page or our group page first. I gave you a link here, and the link will be down below this video for you to get to this area of the website. So I'm going to click on this because some of you said you've been having a hard time getting them to download or finding the right image. So I'm going to redo mine. Here it is. It's called the Cute Creatures Vector Set, and it's free. And it tells you everything that's included in this. And if you'll notice, you basically get illustrations. Notice there's no cut file here. None of them are cut files. So if you don't see an SVG, that means more than likely you'll have to use it as a print then cut. Okay, so I'm going to come down here to where it says download free now. Now I'm using Chrome today, so it's going to come down here in the lower left hand corner when it gets downloaded. So I'm going to click on this, download free now. And this is the Mega CraftBundle that pops up. You need to view this if you haven't yet. It really has some cool stuff in it, but that's not what we're going to do today. But I'm just going to close that. And then if you'll notice down here, like I said, in the lower left hand corner, it says Design Bundles Cut Zip. It's a zip file. So I'm going to either double click on it, or I can click this little arrow here and say open. And it's going to come in like this. And some of you might think that you're done now. And you look under illustrations and it just looks weird. But the thing is, you're not done yet anyway. Because what you need to do is you need to extract it. Because remember, it's a zipped file. Anytime something says it's a zip file, you must either unzip it or extract all. So I'm going to extract all. And then it's going to ask me to select a destination for the files, and I'm going to leave it as it is. And I have this checked so that I always see the extracted files when it's complete. So I'm going to click extract, and it's extracting them. Now if you didn't do this, you're not going to be able to see the files. I'm thinking that's where some of you went wrong. So right now, let's see if we open patterns. Now see what it comes in looking like. And the reason why I can see mine is because up here where it says view, I have large icons. If you just have a list, yours will look like this, but I have large icons. And these are the ones that are unzipped. If I go back to, that are extracted or unzipped. If I go back to this folder where it first came in before I extracted them, and I look at illustrations, and I come up here and view large icons, it doesn't show them because they've not been extracted. They're still zipped up. So these aren't the ones that I can use. So remember, this is the most important thing. When you're getting these files and it comes in, and you see something that looks like a zipper and it said it was a zip file, you have to unzip them or extract them, or you won't be able to see them. Alright, so now that they've all been extracted, and I can see they've been extracted to this Design Bundles Cute Creators Vector Set in my Downloads folder, I'm going to open CRICUT Design Space. And this is what I was working on yesterday. Aren't those cute? And each one of these would be a print then cut. So it would print this whole image along with the background, and it would cut around the heart. But let's cancel this. So the first thing that you'll do is you'll come down here to upload. And these are the ones I've already uploaded. So I'll upload a different one. So I'm going to go to upload, then I'll go to browse, And then I'm going to go to the folder into which I unzip those. And let's see. So I'm going to double click on it to open it. And I'm going to start with looking at, you can look at these other files if you want to, but I'm going to go into illustrations. And notice the ones that I can use are actually looking like little images. So if I change the way I'm viewing these, and if I change it to list, well, it doesn't really tell us which is which kind of a file. But if I hover over it, you can see that's an encapsulated PostScript file. We don't use that. This one says it's a PNG file. If we don't have an SVG file, PNG is my next best favorite. The JPEG file we could use, but we'd have to clean up some stuff to use it, and I'll show you that. But I'm going to go back to this view where I can extra large icons. I can see what I have. Now notice when I hover over this, this says it's the PNG file, and this one says it's a JPEG file, a JPEG we call it. I'm going to get the PNG file, then I'll come back and I'll show you what happens when we do the JPEG. So notice when the PNG file comes in, the background is already transparent. There's nothing for me to clean up. I'll just do complex and I will go continue. And here he is. There's really nothing I need to change. If I want to see him all in the same picture, I can come up here and zoom out. And he looks great. So I'm going to continue. Now obviously the one that I want is the one that's the print then cut. If I just get the cut one, it'll look like this blob over here to the right. So I want this one. And I'm going to name him, I'll just name him Octopus for now. Oh, you know what though? I'm also going to name him Octopus PNG so that you'll be able to see the difference. And actually there won't be a difference in the final image, but now let me do this. Let me go to upload another image and I'll browse. And this time I'm going to get the one, instead of this guy that says PNG file, I'm going to get this guy that says JPEG or JPG file. So I'm going to click on that and open it. Notice the difference right away. You see the white box around him? So we could either leave that there. First we need to say complex and continue. And let's scroll out so we can see all of it. Now there's a white box all around him. I can leave it like that if I'd like to, and maybe I will just for today's purpose. Now obviously, if I've left it like that, I need to save it as a print then cut. If I don't save it as a print then cut, you can see what will cut out of this image. It won't even be the shape of the octopus. It'll be the outermost shape, and that happens to be a rectangle. So I better click this one. Or I can go back, and once I'm here, I can get this little select and erase tool, click over here, which changes the background to be transparent, just like the other one. And then I can go continue. And obviously I would select this one and I would name it and I would say save. All right, so here the two are. So now I'm going to import them. Okay, now I have both of these octopi. Is that the plural of octopus? Anyway, I'm going to select this one, hold down my shift key and select this one. I have two of them selected, and look at them down here. They're both here. And I'm going to insert them. And you're going to notice when they're inserted that they do come in exactly the same, since we fixed the one that was the JPEG and made his background transparent. I'm going to upload it once more and show you how it would come in if we don't make his background transparent. This is the JPEG. Open. I'm going to leave him like that. I'm going to continue. I'm going to leave him like that and continue. And continue. So I'm also going to open him and insert him. Now it might be hard to see the difference, but if I change the color of my canvas, you'll be able to see it more clearly. So I come down here to the right, click on the blank canvas, and then come up here to the top where it says color, and I can change the color of the canvas. I'll change it to blue. They're in the ocean. So look at that. So these are all three print then cuts. Okay, if I go print then cut, this one's going to cut around just this thing here. This one's going to cut around just the octopus like this. This one, on the other hand, is going to cut around that square. And I'm going to get rid of, now I'm going to get rid of one of these because these two are basically the same now that I made the background transparent. I'm going to get rid of one of them, and it doesn't matter which. And I'm going to keep this guy, and I'm going to make him small because I don't want to waste a lot of my ink to show you this. And I'm going to make him small. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to go and print and then cut these, and I'll be right back, and I want you to see what happens. I'm hoping they'll both fit on the same sheet when I say make it. If they don't, I'll make them smaller. Make it. Okay, yes, they both fit on the same sheet. So hang on just a second. What I'm going to do is print then cut these. Notice it automatically puts this black box around here. Some of you get concerned about that and think that's an issue, but it really isn't. Your CRICUT machine has to see this because these are the registration marks, so it knows where to cut these guys in there. So I'm going to go to continue, and I got to turn on my machine. And instead of using cardstock, I'm going to use just regular printer paper. I'm hoping that it won't be an issue for my machines. So I'm going to select my device, and now I'm going to click on Send to Printer. And this is where I select the printer that's going to print. So depending on what you have connected to your machine, you'll choose yours. Mine happens to be the HP OfficeJet 4635. It says 30, but I know it's the 35. It's this one. I'll click on that. I will leave bleed on, and I'm going to say print. Okay, while that is printing over there, I'm now going to select the paper that I'm using. And as I said, I'm using just regular typewriter or regular printer paper. So I'm going to come up here to Browse All Materials. And I'm going to go to Categories and Paper. And then I'm going to look for copy paper. There it is right there. That's what I'm going to use. I'll click on that, see it checks it. Then I have to come down here and say done. And now I'm going to load it onto my mat, and it'll cut. Okay, it's printed out both of these, and I see this black line on this one is really dark. So I'm not sure if that's where the bleed is. I could have made my experiment a little bit better if I had put a little letter on him to denote which one still had the square around it and then which one had the transparent background. But I didn't do that, but we'll still be able to see that one is cut out with a square and one is cut out around the octopus. So I'm going to put this on my mat, and I have to make sure I put it on the same orientation, or the same way it is up here in CRICUT Design Space. So if you notice, if I click on Edit, You see how they are on Cricut Design Space with the top of the head toward the top of the mat? I can't put them sideways. I can't put them upside down. I have to put them so they look exactly the same way on my real mat as they look on this mat showing up in Cricut Design Space. Okay, if you look down here, I'm going to take these off the mat. The one that was the one that's just the octopus, it was doing some weird cuts. I'm not exactly sure why, but did you see? I'll have to go back and see if I can clean that up a little bit. But do you see the difference? So the one that had a transparent background, it did not cut out a square. The one that had a square around it, it just went around the square and cut it. So you may be thinking, well, what if I get an image and I want it to cut like this, but it has a transparent background? Well, I can show you that easily. All I need to do is come over here to Shapes and get a square. And if I don't want the square to be any color whatsoever, I can change it to white. If I wanted it to be maybe a, let's just say a purple. Okay, and then I placed him on top. Oh, he's going behind, so I need to right click on him and go move center front. So now, the way this is right here, if I grab both of these and say flatten, it'll be one image. This will all print then cut, but where it's going to cut is around this box. Now let's unflatten that, and let's imagine we don't want any color to print because that would use up a lot of your ink maybe, but you did want him on a little box or a card. You could change this color, of course, to white, and nothing gets printed when the color white is there. And if we put him back up here, now notice if I say make it now, it's got the square over here, which you, well, let me change it. Let me color it again so you can see it. I'll make this instead a purple again. So, and I'll put him on top, whoops, once again. And if I don't flatten it and we go to make it, look what's going to happen. It's going to print this purple square and cut it, and it's going to print him and cut him. But if we go back here to cancel, and let's imagine we make this white, I'll make it a light gray so we can see it. Pretend that's white. And we put him on top. And once again, if we just go to make it, it does the square by itself and the octopus. Not what we want. Cancel. What we need to do to make these one thing, highlight them both, and watch these two items up here in the layers panel when I click on flatten. Right now there are two layers. When I flatten, they will become one. There it is, one layer, make it, and it's one thing. And if this was a white box, we wouldn't be able to see it, but it would be there. Our machine would know it was there, and it would print this guy, and then it would cut around where the white box is. And you may be wondering, well, what if you use a different shape behind him? Well, let's unflatten it and get rid of this box. And we can easily come down here and get a heart. Oh, he's sneaking behind again. Let's right click on him and go to center front. Or of course, if you don't like to right click, you can click on him, come up here where it says arrange, and center front. Okay, so we can do him like that. And now of course, if we just go to make it, notice this. The octopus over here is a print and cut, and the heart is just a cut. So if we go to make it, it's going to go onto two pieces of paper. This guy is the print then cut, and the heart is simply a cut. Let's cancel that. If we come back here and we grab both of these and we say flatten, Now notice it has been flattened. There are no longer two layers over here. There's just one, and it's a print and cut. And if we go to make it, that's what it's going to be like. If we cancel it and we make the heart a different color, but of course we can't yet, right? We need to unflatten it first so it goes back to the two layers up here. So I'll go unflatten. Now I can change the heart's color. I can come up here and change it to a different color. Let's say the light gray. And if I just go to make it right now, what's going to happen, do you think? I have these two layers over here. Both of them are print then cuts. But what do you guess is going to happen? What do you hypothesize? Let's go to make it. Were you right? They're going to print and then cut, but it's two separate images. How could we make the octopus print and cut on top of the heart? Let's cancel. Here it is. He's on top of the heart, but we need to select both of these. So they're both selected here in the layers panel. When I come down here to flatten, what's going to happen? They're going to change into one layer. And if I go to make it, okay, that's what we wanted. We wanted the octopus on top of the heart. Does it matter if the heart was white? No. If I made this heart white, and let's do that, cancel. Okay, I need to get to unflatten. I need to change the heart to white. And I need to grab them again and say flatten. Now, this is all going to print and cut together. White, remember you don't have white ink in your printer. It's just going to stay white as the paper. So when I go to print and cut, or make it, I'm sorry, it looks like it's just the octopus, but we can't see it. But your machine, when it cuts, will be able to see that there was something here. Let me continue, and I will send that to the printer to show you. Okay, I printed it out, and this is what it looks like. So remember those black lines. Some of you get concerned about the black lines. Those are necessary for our machine because he looks at it with that little light, if you've ever watched your machine, so that it knows, it registers here and then it knows where to cut. So I'm going to put this on my mat, and this should only take a few seconds for this to cut because it should just cut the heart. I do have to tell it what I'm using for paper again, so I'm going to browse all material because I didn't save that as one of my favorites. I come to all categories and paper, and it was copy paper. And I could make that one of my favorites so it stays up there since I'll be using it today just by clicking this star off and on. And I'll click on done. And then it's ready to be cut. Okay, my machine has finished cutting it. Let's look again. I'm going to say finish down here and see what we had for it to cut. We had the octopus and we had him inside of a white heart. I could change the canvas back to white, and you really can't see the white heart at all. Sometimes if you put on your grid by coming up here and going to settings, so what I did was I came up here where these bars are, clicked on them, and went to settings. Right now I have no grid checked. I can put full grid on or partial grid. And once my grid's on, you can see the heart here, the shape of it, a little bit. And you can see that, you see when I move it. Okay, but that's what we made. Now let's look down to my matte and see what we got. So let's see. We should have gotten, okay, remember those registration marks are necessary. And if ever your machine doesn't have a lot of black ink, I have been known to use a ruler and a Sharpie and made the lines darker, and that did help my CRICUT machine to be able to see them. So this is exactly what we wanted this time. So one time we had him cut out like this just by himself. One time we had him cut out in a square, and I'm not sure where that went already. But anyway, and then this time we had him cut out in a heart. So that's just to help you know a little bit about the print then cut function. So let's go back to CRICUT Design Space, and I'm going to unflatten him, and I am going to change the color of my background again so you can see it a little more easily. I'll make it gray. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a pattern. Right now, it's just a print then cut. If I come up here to where it says fill, and I go to print, and then I come over here to this color swatch, and it says print type. Do I want it to do a color, or click here, do I want it to do a pattern? I'm going to have it do a pattern. And then lots of patterns will show up right here. Unfortunately, you can't make this window larger, and it's hard to see what they look like, in my opinion. I wonder if I scroll in like this. That helps a little bit. Okay, but then we can't see my thing very well. But anyway, let's see. All right, let me do that again. So I'm going to do the print, and I have to come up here, go click on print, come over here to the color swatch, and it wants to know the print type. Do I want a color, or do I want a pattern? I want a pattern. And I'll just choose one of these patterns that I uploaded from this free section yesterday, and it happens to be this one with little fish. Now, you can see behind here, sort of, that they're kind of separated far apart. I want them to be much closer together than that. I'm going to move the octopus over, and I'm going to click on this again. If I come right back up here to the same box and click on it, notice what it says down here, Edit Pattern. If I click on that, this shows a sample of what the pattern looks like right now. I can use this scroll bar to make there be less fish in the pattern or more fish in the pattern. And so I like a lot so that you can tell the heart pattern well. I'm going to use it like that. And I'm going to X this out. So there's my fish pattern. Now I'm going to bring him over on top of that. And, you know, I'm going to get rid of my grid because I think that's kind of distracting. So I come back up there, come down here to settings, and no grid. And X that out. All right, so now we have no grid. Okay, so now if I go to make this, and they're both over here, if we look at the panel, layers panel, they're both print and cuts. Let's see what happens when we make it. Okay, we get the heart that prints then cuts, and we get a little octopus that prints then cuts. But that's not what we want. I want the octopus to print then cut on top of this. So how do I do that? Well, I just draw a little square around all of that, or I could come up here to where it says Select All, and then I come to Flatten, and notice it went from 2 layers over here to 1. Let me unflatten it and show you again. Here are 2 layers. We have the octopus and the heart. If I draw a box around them or hit Select All and flatten, watch what happens to these 2 layers. they become one. And when I go to make it, it's just going to cut out, it's going to print the octopus and the heart with the pattern, and then it's going to cut around the heart. Okay, let's cancel that. Now you may be wondering, how do you get these different patterns in here? Well, let's unflatten this. Click on it to highlight it and unflatten. Move him off. Now, if I come up here again to where the pattern was, there are lots and lots of patterns that Cricut Design Space has in here for us. I'm not sure if that's because of access or what, but there are lots and lots of patterns, and you can add your own patterns. That looks sort of like flip-flops, huh? It is flip-flops on a line. That's cute. And of course, you could just print and cut that out if you're doing a scrapbook or a card or something like that. But now you may be wondering, how do I get my own pattern in here? Well, let's see. What we need to do is we're going to go to Upload, and I think I need to make my screen a little smaller again. Okay. We'll go to Upload. And this time, instead of upload an image, we're going to go to upload a pattern. So upload a pattern, and it tells you what kind of images you can use here. Upload a pattern, and we're going to go to Browse. And we came to the folder called Illustrations in the free stuff that we just downloaded. If you go up a folder, notice there's a folder called Patterns. We can click on that to open it, and these are all the cute patterns that are available in there. This is the one I just used. I haven't uploaded this one yet. Now notice that's a JPEG file. That's going to have the white background. I don't want that one. I want this one, the PNG. Remember, the order in which we like to use images is SVG first, if there is one. If there's no SVG, my second favorite to use is a PNG file, and that's what this is. So I'm going to click on that and open. And then here I should put in some names. I'll just say speech bubbles. And it's sort of baby looking to me. And it's sort of, I don't know, summery colors maybe. You can put whatever you want, or spring. And then you would say what kind it is. And I know this happens to be a seamless one, which means it will go on forever and not look like there's a seam in it. So I'm going to say seamless. And I'm going to say juvenile. And you can select whatever ones you think go well with it. And then down here you'd pick colors that go. And say Save. Now, if you go, let's go back. Okay, click on that. Cancel. Let's go back to Upload. And you know how our images are usually here? You may be thinking, where in the world is my image? If you go to Upload Pattern, it doesn't show up. Let's go back to the canvas. And I want to change this to the pattern we just opened up. So how do I do that? Well, that's easy. Okay, in order to change this to the color that we just uploaded, or the pattern, we click on this heart, and then we come up to this square, because it still says print, and this was the square where the pattern was. And the very last pattern that we uploaded will be right here. And there it is. I just click on it, and it's put into the heart. Now once again, I can click up here again if I'd like to edit the pattern and change the scale of it, which I always like to do. All right, so there it is. And then once again, I can bring him over on top, but right now he's behind. So I'll need to right click on him, send to front, bring him over here. And if I want this to print then cut as one piece all together, you know what I have to do. I have to select both of them and go to flatten. And now when I go to make it, it's just one piece. The heart prints, and this prints on top of the heart, and then this would be cut out around here. So let's cancel that. But you may be wondering about, well, can I use this for text? Well, yeah, you sure can. Watch this. Come over here and get the text tool. And maybe just type in, okay. And then if I want to, what I can do is I can make these much larger, and I can unlock it, make them like that. And I could change the letter spacing so they get really close together. And of course, I could use any font I want. Now that's too close because the I and the N went together. So let me bring them back apart just a tiny bit. Okay, so now what I can do is I can come up here where it says no fill, change that to print. And I come over here to this swatch again. Now, do I want it to be filled with a color, or do I want it to be filled with a pattern? I want a pattern. And I'm actually going to use that pattern we just brought in. Okay, so I decided not to do the whole word spring because I don't want to use up all of my ink. So I just made a great big S to show you how that worked out. I did use that same design as I said, but I did manipulate it. I can't get it to show because my tripod. I did manipulate it so it was a lot closer together so that you could see the S more clearly. So this would be really cool if you were doing a bulletin board, if you were a teacher, if you were decorating your child's room. Of course, I might do it on cardstock, although if I was just putting this temporarily up on a wall, I could use it just like this. They're really cool. It's a lot of fun. There are so many different patterns that you could put in here. Wouldn't it be fun if you had a child that liked Sesame Street to, you know, put some things like that in there, or Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse, put their little images in some things like this. So let's just go back one more time to Cricut Design Space. All right, there's the S that I had just done. And I want to show you one more time how we would upload different pieces or images into to become a pattern. So you go to upload, upload pattern, browse, and I'm just going to look. You know, I could just have a pattern with a bunch of sheep on it if I wanted to. So again, I would make sure I chose the PNG. Click open. I'm thinking this will work. Let's see, I'll do animals and wildlife, juvenile maybe, and I'll just leave it like that for now, and I'll just call it sheep. Oops. Now imagine if this was Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse or something like that. Anything. Could be a photograph of somebody. Now remember, it's not going to show up here, but when we go to new, and maybe I'm going to bring in a shape. I'll just bring in a circle, a big old circle. And imagine that I want to have this circle just all filled with sheep. So again, I'll come up here to where it says fill, change it to say print. I don't want it to print that dark color. I want it to print, not a color, pattern. And the pattern I want it to print is the one I just brought in. The last one I brought in will be at the top, and there it is. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to come in. Okay, it comes in as, looks like one sheep in my circle. I'm wondering what will happen when I edit the pattern and I make more. Oh, that's cute, isn't it? So I can make them bigger and smaller. So I have more and more of them in the circle. Hit the X, and that's how it would be. Now, if I went to print it, make this, it's a print then cut, so it's just going to print all these little sheep and cut it in the shape of a circle. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. If you have questions, please give them to me in the comment or over on our Facebook group. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, the link is down below, as well as my affiliate links, and I sure do appreciate those of you who have been using those. It really helps support this channel. I guess that's about it. See you again soon. Bye-bye.